Imagine a place where two continents meet, where Europe meets Asia, not merely geographically, but in a geological drama that has been unfolding for millions of years. Turkey is more than a bridge between worlds. It is a laboratory of nature, shaped by tectonic forces, carved by wind and water, inhabited by cultures that unite both continents within themselves. Here, across 783,000 square kilometers, a landscape reveals itself that is unlike any other on Earth. Fairy chimneys that look as though they were created by extraterrestrials. Travertine waterfalls that seem to have fallen out of time. Mountain ranges where snow leopards once hunted. Coastlines where three seas display their distinctly different characters. Yet, this beauty stands on shaky ground, in the most literal sense of the word. Turkey lies on one of the most active fault zones on Earth, where continental plates grind against each other with relentless force. What we admire today as breathtaking landscapes is the result of permanent geological unrest. If you would like to learn more about the natural wonders of our planet, subscribe to this channel. We take you on journeys to the most extraordinary places on Earth. In the heart of Anatolia, where the landscape looks like the backdrop of a science fiction film, lies Cappadocia. Yet, what appears to be the work of imaginative artists is, in reality, the result of a geological choreography that began millions of years ago. Three volcanoes, Arteries, Hassan, and Gulu, spewed ash and lava over thousands of years. Layer upon layer of volcanic material was deposited. First soft tuff, then harder basalt rock. A geological layer cake that set the stage for what was to come. Then came wind and water. With the patience of aeons, they ate their way through the soft tuff, while the harder basalt caps offered resistance. This is how the fairy chimneys were formed, pillars of soft rock, crowned by a protective cap. Some rise 30 meters into the sky, others are barely the height of a man. Together they form a landscape that is unique on Earth. People recognized the potential of this geological peculiarity early on. As early as the 4th century, Byzantine Christians began carving caves into the soft tuff. Churches emerged painted with frescoes that still glow today. Entire underground cities were created. In Derinkuyu, for example, 8 stories extend into the Earth's depths, offering refuge to up to 20,000 people from invaders. The special microclimate of Cappadocia, characterized by hot summers and cold winters, shaped not only the landscape, but also the culture. The average annual temperature is 11 degrees Celsius, with extremes of -20 degrees Celsius in winter and up to 35 degrees Celsius in summer. These conditions favored a special form of erosion that made Cappadocia what it is today. At sunrise, dozens of hot air balloons rise above the fairy chimneys, an everyday spectacle that makes the true dimensions of this landscape experiential for the first time. From a bird's eye view, the full extent of this geological symphony is revealed. A sea of stone towers interwoven with fertile valleys in which grapevines and apricot trees flourish. In the southwest of Turkey, in the province of Denizli, a glacier appears to lie in the middle of the landscape. Yet, what looks like snow and ice from a distance is in reality limestone, accumulated over millennia, shaped by water itself. Pamukkale, the cotton castle, is one of the most spectacular hydrothermal phenomena in the world. From 17 springs, water gushes at a constant temperature of 35 degrees Celsius. This water is saturated with calcium bicarbonate, a chemical cocktail that undergoes a transformation upon contact with oxygen. As soon as the water reaches the surface and releases carbon dioxide, the dissolved calcium bicarbonate transforms into calcium carbonate, limestone. This is deposited layer upon layer, millennium upon millennium. The result is brilliantly white terraces that cascade down the hillside like frozen waterfalls. The terraces extend over a length of 2,700 meters and reach a height of 160 meters. Some pools are as small as a bathtub, others large enough to swim in. The turquoise water in the pools forms a dramatic contrast to the blinding white of the limestone. Yet, Pamukkale is more than a geological curiosity. Even the Romans recognized the healing power of these springs. Above the Travertine pools, they founded Hierapolis, a city that rose to become a significant spa resort. The ruins, a theatre, temples, necropolises bear witness to the importance of this site in antiquity. The modern history of Pamukkale is also a story of the struggle for preservation. In the 1980s, UNESCO World Heritage status was under threat. Hotels had been built directly on the terraces. Tourists walked across the delicate formations in shoes. The water was diverted, the terraces dried out and turned grey. Strict protective measures saved the natural wonder. Hotels were demolished, access was regulated. Today, Pamukkale can only be entered barefoot, and the water is channeled in a controlled manner across the terraces to encourage the formation of new travertine. Turkey is blessed with over 8,000 kilometers of coastline along 3 fundamentally different seas. Each possesses its own character, its own ecology, its own geological history. The Black Sea in the north is an almost isolated basin, connected to the Mediterranean only through the narrow Bosporus. Its water is less salty than that of other seas, fed by great rivers such as the Danube and the Dnieper. The coastline here is rugged and green, dominated by steep mountains that drop directly into the sea. The Pontic Mountains shield this region and create a climate that is among the wettest in Turkey. The peculiarity of the Black Sea lies in its layered structure. Below a depth of approximately 200 meters, almost no life exists. The oxygen content is too low. This anoxic layer makes the Black Sea one of the largest oxygen-depleted bodies of water in the world. The Aegean Sea in the west presents an entirely different face. Jagged bays, offshore islands, crystal clear water. The coastline here is tectonically highly active. Grabens created a complex mosaic of mountains and sea bays. The average water temperature in summer is a pleasant 24 degrees Celsius. This region is a biodiversity hotspot. Over 600 species of fish populate the waters, including the endangered Mediterranean monk seal, one of the rarest seal species in the world. Cormorants and storm petrels nest in the rock formations. The Mediterranean in the south finally offers the longest continuous coastline. The Turkish Riviera, as it is known in tourism, stretches for over 1,000 kilometers. Here one finds some of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. Geologically, this coastline is young and dynamic. The Arabian Plate pushes against the Anatolian Plate, raising mountain ranges and shaping coastlines. The Taurus Mountains rise in places directly from the sea to over 3,000 meters in height, a dramatic topographic variety within the smallest of spaces. In the far east of Turkey, on the border with Armenia and Iran, a biblical figure rises, Mount Ararat. At 5,137 meters, it is the highest mountain in Turkey, a volcano that has been dormant for thousands of years, at least on the surface. Ararat is a double peak, the Greater Ararat and the Lesser Ararat, connected by a saddle, dominate the Armenian plateau. Permanently snow-covered, the Greater Ararat bears a summit glacier that has been shrinking rapidly in recent decades. According to legend, Noah's Ark is said to have come to rest here. Geologically, Ararat is the result of a long volcanic history. Its last eruption occurred in 1840. An event that buried an entire village under lava and mud. Yet, Ararat is not the only high mountain range in Turkey. The Taurus Mountains sweep in a mighty arc through the south and east of the country. The highest peak, the Demirkazak, reaches 3,756 meters. These mountain chains are water reservoirs, the headwaters of the Euphrates and Tigris. Originate at these heights. The Pontic Mountains in the north form a natural barrier between the Black Sea and the central Anatolian plateau. Here, in the Kaskar Mountains, one finds alpine landscapes with glacial lakes, flowering alpine meadows, and a species diversity one would more readily expect to encounter in the Alps. The high mountain ranges of Turkey are refugia for species that have disappeared elsewhere. The Anatolian leopard, once widespread throughout the entire region, now survives only in the most remote mountain ranges. Brown bears roam the forested slopes of the Pontic Mountains. Ibex and wild sheep inhabit the higher elevations. These mountains play a decisive role in the climate of the entire region. They intercept precipitation, store water in the form of snow and glaciers, and feed the great river systems that supply millions of people with water. There are few places on Earth where one can literally swim from one continent to another. The Bosporus is one of them. This narrow strait, barely 700 meters wide at its narrowest point, simultaneously separates and connects Europe and Asia. Yet, the Bosporus is far more than a geographical curiosity. It is a geological scar, formed by tectonic movements and dramatic climate change at the end of the last ice age. Around 7,500 years ago, the Black Sea was a vast freshwater lake. Its water level lay over 100 meters lower than it does today. Then, as glaciers melted, the sea level of the Mediterranean rose. The water sought an outlet and found one at the Bosporus. What followed was one of the greatest natural catastrophes in human history. Millions of cubic meters of salt water poured into the freshwater lake, fundamentally transforming its ecology and displacing the people who had lived along its shores. Some researchers see in this event the origin of the Great Flood legend. Today, enormous quantities of water flow through the Bosporus daily, in both directions. At the surface, less salty water flows from the Black Sea into the Mediterranean. In the depths, a countercurrent flows. Saltier Mediterranean water presses into the Black Sea. The topography of the Bosporus is spectacular. In places, it reaches depths of over 100 meters. Steep cliffs line both shores, crowned with palaces, fortresses, and mosques, witnesses to the cultures that controlled this strategically important strait. The Bosporus is also one of the most heavily trafficked waterways in the world. Approximately 150 ships pass through it daily, including giant oil tankers, container ships, and cruise liners. Navigation is demanding. Strong currents, sudden gusts of wind, and dense traffic make every passage a challenge. For Istanbul, the metropolis that spans both shores, the Bosporus is lifeline and identity in equal measure. The city is the only one on Earth that lies on two continents. Bridges and tunnels connect the districts, yet the Bosporus remains the defining geography of this extraordinary city. Water is the lifeline of Turkey, and nowhere is this clearer than in the east of the country, where Lake Van stretches out like an inland sea, the largest soda lake on Earth. Situated at an altitude of 1,648 meters, it covers an area of approximately 3,700 square kilometers. Its peculiarity lies in its chemical composition. The water is not only salty but highly alkaline, with a pH value of 10. For most living organisms, this water is lethal, yet one species has adapted: the van fish, an endemic carp species found nowhere else in the world. The formation of Lake Van is a story of fire and water. Around 600,000 years ago, a volcanic eruption blocked the natural drainage of a valley. A lake formed with no outflow. The water can only evaporate. Over millennia, minerals became concentrated until the lake developed its current unique chemistry. The surroundings of Lake Van are permeated by history. On the island of Akdamar stands the Armenian Church of the Holy Cross, an architectural jewel from the 10th century. The reliefs on its exterior walls recount biblical stories, a testimony to the Christian culture that once shaped this region. Further west, the two mightiest rivers of the Near East originate: the Euphrates and the Tigris. The Euphrates, approximately 2,700 kilometers long and one of the longest rivers in Asia, rises in the Armenian Highlands. The Tigris follows a more southerly course. Both rivers formed the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers. Turkey's hydrological significance for the entire region can hardly be overstated. As the source country of the Euphrates and Tigris, it controls the flow of water to Syria and Iraq. The southeastern Anatolia project, a gigantic network of dams and irrigation canals, has revolutionized agriculture but has also created political tensions with neighboring countries. Lake Tuz, the salt lake in central Anatolia, presents an entirely different face. In summer, it shrinks to a vast salt plain glittering in the sun. In winter, it fills with water and becomes a breeding ground for thousands of flamingos. The lake supplies approximately 70% of the salt consumed in Turkey. Lake Sapanca, located east of Istanbul, is the most important drinking water source for the million-strong metropolis. Formed by tectonic activity, it lies in a graben parallel to the North Anatolian Fault. Its depth, up to 52 meters, and the quality of its water make it indispensable for the city's water supply. The rivers and lakes of Turkey are more than geographical features. They are historical axes along which civilizations developed. They are ecological hotspots, refugia for rare species. They are political factors in a region where water is increasingly becoming a strategic resource. The natural history of Turkey is inseparably intertwined with its cultural identity. The geography, the location between two continents, the diversity of landscapes, the fertility of the soils, shaped one of the most fascinating cultural regions in the world. As early as 12,000 years ago, people recognized the value of this landscape. Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Anatolia is regarded as the oldest known temple complex in human history. Erected at a time when people had not yet begun practicing agriculture. Its location is no coincidence: fertile land, access to water, strategic overview. Natural geography determined the course of history. The Bosporus became the most coveted strait in the world. Whoever controlled it controlled trade between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. Byzantium, Constantinople, Istanbul. The names changed, but the strategic significance remained. The Anatolian plateau at the heart of the country became the breadbasket of various empires. The Hittites, Romans, Byzantines, Seljuks, Ottomans all exploited the fertility of these soils. Yet natural geography also posed challenges: extreme temperatures, limited precipitation, earthquakes. These challenges forged a culture of resilience and adaptation. The underground cities of Cappadocia are an expression of this. People who learn to work with nature, to harness its peculiarities and anticipate its dangers. The cultural synthesis of Eastern and Western influences is reflected everywhere. In architecture, Byzantine churches alongside Seljuk caravanserais, Ottoman mosques beside Hellenistic temples. In cuisine, spices from Asia, Mediterranean freshness, nomadic tradition. In music, literature, and art. This synthesis is not a historical relic, but a living present. Istanbul embodies this duality perfectly, a city where one can breakfast on the Asian side in the morning and dine on the European side in the evening, with a short ferry crossing as the interlude. The natural landscapes of Turkey have not only shaped its culture, they have become part of the cultural identity. Ararat is a national symbol, even though it lies geographically in the Far East. Cappadocia is synonymous with Turkish uniqueness. The coastlines are objects of longing and economic engines in equal measure. From the fairy chimneys of Cappadocia to the Travertine pools of Pamukkale, from the three seas to the summit of Ararat, Turkey reveals a diversity that is unique on this planet. Situated between two continents, this country is more than a geographical bridge. It is a testament to how tectonic forces shape landscapes over aeons that leave us in awe today. Perhaps the most important insight is this: what we perceive as immovable is in truth in constant flux. Continents drift, mountains rise, seas change. Our time span is simply too short to notice. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe to the channel. The Earth tells fascinating stories.